Why am I bringing that up? Because, ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand that's what will lose you an election. See, the GOP already got it plotted. They're going to air that all over the place. Senator Josh Hawley is going to be on Fox News and other platforms, Newsmax and everything else. They're going to play that.
Stephen A. Smith is issuing a clear warning. The Democratic Party is in serious trouble. In his view, the party is losing direction, and without meaningful change, its problems will only deepen.
77 million people voted for Donald Trump. 74 plus million for Kamala Harris. There's tens of millions of people out there. They're going to see that video. They're going to show it to them over and over. And they're going to say, that's the Dems. You have to immediately disassociate yourself from that rhetoric. I'm only talking about the rhetoric. I'm not talking about her as a person. I'm not talking about liberals who support transgender rights or anything. I'm not talking about that.
Stephen A. previously warned Democrats about weak leadership before the 2024 election, but his concerns were dismissed. The outcome is now history. He has returned to explain why the party continues to make the same mistakes, and why those mistakes could resurface in 2028. This analysis breaks down where things went wrong and what the consequences could be.
See this to believe it. This, reading from USA Today, a Senate committee hearing about abortion medication has gone viral after Republican U.S. Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri and Ashley Moody of Florida asked an obstetrician gynecologist if men can get pregnant. Republican Senator Josh Hawley grilled Dr. Nisha Verma, an OBGYN, who refused to answer that very question. Can men get pregnant? Repeatedly, and I mean repeatedly.
Stephen A. Smith argues that Democrats lost elections because many of their policies conflicted with science, logic, and common sense. Ideas that were once broadly accepted became politically reinterpreted or ignored. Across healthcare, education, public safety, and environmental policy, voters saw decisions that felt disconnected from real-world evidence. According to Stephen A., this pattern confused and frustrated the public, contributing directly to the party's decline.
Spoiler alert, men cannot get pregnant. I'm not going to say anything else until you watch the video. See it for yourself. Take a look.
Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the...
At the center of the debate was a basic factual issue that went unanswered. When a respected doctor was asked directly about it, she avoided a clear response and relied on vague language. Stephen A. Smith criticized this approach, arguing that avoiding simple questions damages public trust. He believes this lack of clarity played a significant role in Democrats losing the White House in 2024 and warns that similar tactics could lead to repeat losses.
Let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So, can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool. And
no, yes/no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you. You know, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives.
Although the doctor initially emphasized that policy should be guided by science rather than politics, pressure from questioning exposed a deeper issue. Stephen A. Smith argues that even straightforward topics are often turned into political performances. When objective issues become partisan, voters lose confidence. He believes this ongoing politicization weakens credibility and pushes voters away.
Cannot have that. As a Democratic Party, you cannot be associated with that. I'm talking about an unwillingness and an inability to answer the question. If you think men can get pregnant and you think you have scientific data to back that up, say so. If You don't have the scientific data to back it up, and you're purported to be a scientist, Dr. Nisha Verma, and the question is asked, and you don't have proof to validate that men get pregnant. Can men get pregnant? Then the answer would be no. She refused to answer the question. That cannot happen.
Stephen A. Smith's message to Democrats is direct. If science supports a position, present it clearly and honestly. If it does not, acknowledge that openly. He argues that voters are tired of vague answers and political language. What they want is transparency, honesty, and respect for their intelligence. Without that, trust continues to erode.
77 million people voted for Donald Trump. 74 plus million for Kamala Harris. There's tens of millions of people out there. They're going to see that video. They're going to show it to them over and over. And they're going to say, that's the Dems. You have to immediately disassociate yourself from that rhetoric. I'm only talking about the rhetoric. I'm not talking about her as a person. I'm not talking about liberals who support transgender rights or anything. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about an unwillingness to answer direct questions.
Stephen A. Smith also criticizes the DNC for failing to distance itself from controversial statements. He believes this silence shows fear of internal activist groups. While those voices may be small in number, their influence is significant. According to Stephen A., allowing extreme perspectives to dominate messaging leaves the party out of touch with mainstream voters and damages its credibility.
I'm telling you right now, if you embrace that kind of nonsense, where somebody is in front of the camera on Capitol Hill or the combination of both, and they can't acknowledge something that simple, you've already lost. Because Trump and the right are going to sit up there and say, is that what you want our country to become? Is that what you want our country to stand on? That's the reason I brought that up.
By refusing to clearly address the controversy, Stephen A. argues the DNC handed Donald Trump an advantage. He wouldn't need to reinterpret the situation. Simply replaying the statements would be enough. These moments, repeated during a campaign, reinforce perceptions that Democrats are evasive and disconnected from basic realities.
Right now, the right is reeling, no matter what they say. No matter what they say. You still haven't finalized addressing the Affordable Care Act subsidies. Healthcare is still, price for healthcare is still expected to skyrocket. Price for insurance, price for products throughout this country. We're looking at inflationary times. The value of the dollar is dissipating before our very eyes. Things need to happen. Things need to get done. Everybody knows there's bigger fish to fry than issues like this.
Stephen A. Smith says the core issue is trust. If voters cannot rely on leaders to speak clearly about basic facts, they will question their ability to manage larger responsibilities. Trust is built through honesty and consistency, and once broken, it is extremely difficult to restore.
To watch her dance, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And something like that, being associated with one side of the aisle, is detrimental to that side. I'm just giving you that perspective. That's the kind of stuff that will lose an election for you. Trust me on that. It will lose an election for you. When you've got Trump and the administration reeling because public opinion ain't on his side because of the way and the how in which they're doing certain things, causing chaos in the streets. One would easily argue that's what happened in 2020.
According to Stephen A. Smith believes Democrats also missed opportunities to capitalize on Trump's missteps. Instead of focusing on practical issues that resonate with voters, the party became distracted by internal ideological conflicts. According to him, effective political moments were wasted due to poor strategic focus.
Even then, George Floyd happened, and the racial reckoning that existed in this country was coming home. And all of those things happened. And you know what American voters said? You had Republicans with Trump, wouldn't budge. You had liberals on the opposite side that was going to go with Biden, especially after Representative Clyburn got involved and threw his support behind Biden and got him to win South Carolina, and things took off from there. But the real reason Trump lost The election in 2020 is because you had independents out there, or moderates on the left or the right, that said, we don't need this kind of chaos, we don't need this kind of noise.
Stephen A. Smith concludes that the Democratic Party's losses stem from a breakdown in trust. By avoiding clear answers, politicizing science, and allowing extreme voices to shape its message, the party drifted away from everyday voters. His advice is straightforward. Lead with facts, communicate clearly, respect voters' intelligence, and reclaim the political center. Without meaningful change, he warns, future elections may produce the same results.